Welcome back, everybody. We're moving on to Game 3, and this time around we get to see Hellraisers go up against Gambit. And this one is just a little bit more interesting than before because we have some slight changes, we have a stand-in, and we're in a whole world of confusion on how exactly this might go.
That is a very good question. I think if we get a couple of bits of housework out of the way first and foremost. So we have, for the side of Gambit, Dimasic is unable to make it due to some form of issue, probably a visa one. I think I read that somewhere. Normally that's the musings that I have, something about visas. Anyway, so Bondic, ex-Hellraisers player, recently benched, is playing for them as a stand-in. Now, he used to play for Hellraisers, who has Hobbit, who used to play for Gambit when they won the major. Hobbit wanted to leave. He went to the transfer list. Now he's been picked up by Hellraisers. They've only played like a very few amount of games together, and the same can be said for both rosters, but obviously this Gambit one has played no games with Bondic because of how new he is.
Now, this is the thing I like, though, right? You spoke about it before we moved on. I think it was on Game 1 when we were just chatting away. He is literally the super sub. He joins a team like Tyler at one point and just goes on loan, and they're not even speaking his language most of the time.
Just fragging.
And he's just like, just going to dome heads. And then he joins in, he just jumps back onto Hellraisers, still performs really well. And now we see him on a completely different roster again, just standing in, and is able to do probably damage again because it's what he seems to do.
Well, Blade, okay, for those who don't know, Blade is now the coach of Gambit. Now, Blade used to play with Bondic back in Flipside days. So to have Blade coaching a team with Bondic in it now, even though he is only a stand-in, he'll know how to use him. Now, we have to also talk about it still feels, in my mind, like a newer addition, Mia. He's part of this Gambit roster as well. And we obviously have Mo and Dozier, the players who won the major under this Gambit name. Not even that long ago. It was only a year and a bit ago. So
it feels like a lot longer.
It does, doesn't it? Right?
It feels like 4 majors ago.
So now it's obviously a brand new constellation, and the level of expectation for this team with a stand-in, it drops off significantly, right? It's the same kind of situation as what we were just saying about the Kingdom versus NRG matchup. These guys versus Hellraisers, in my mind, it would have been a 50-50 matchup. But with the stand-in, you have to drop and give the favor to that of Hellraisers purely because, once again, they are an actual team. So things do change in this environment. I'm just really curious to see this new kid, Axel.
Yeah, he's 16 years old, gets a call up. Now, he used to play, well, he was on loan or loan or trial, one of the two, for Flipside, right? For a very short amount of time.
Okay.
And then he just goes and plays in, like, the other CIS teams. And now he gets a call up to Gambit, right? So, young gun, keen and ready, this is a golden opportunity for him to shine.
Well, I think Gambit are in a position where they can take a risk like that. They haven't got a whole lot more options. They have to just try someone, see if it works. And like if this was the Gambit from New York, I think things would be looking pretty good for them. The thing is, this is a very different lineup. You know, we've seen them play 3 best-of-3s. That's even without Bondic.
Yeah.
Now he'll obviously come into it, probably swing things even more in their favor, but. Of those 3 best-of-3s, you know, they were losing 2-0 to Namiga. They dropped the map to, I think it was Jumka's Money Crew. Hellraisers haven't been the most consistent team recently. They've been dropping a couple of maps of their own. They've been up and down, you know, losing 2-0 to Wendigo, but beating FaZe 2-0. Still, though, I think that just taking a look at the caliber of the teams Hellraisers are losing to, it puts them in a bit of favor for this matchup.
Well, before we jump on to Hellraisers, we're going to go and speak to Mo from Gambit and listen to what he has to say in this interview. And it's nice that with Adren not being there, we don't always hear from him every single time. So let's see what Mo's got to say.
Мы не подписали IGL, потому что, наверное, строит игру на данный момент Blade. И он больше руководит этой системой, и он не видит на данный момент какого-то определенного капитана, который мог бы нами руководить, или, соответственно, нового капитана нужно развивать. Поэтому на данный момент нами больше занимается Blade, и подписание или тренировка капитана уже будет в будущем. Ростер на данный момент около месяца. Мы этим составом тренировались и подготавливались к минору. Прошли онлайн-квалификацию, но, к сожалению, к этому турниру Димасик не успел сделать визу, точнее, были определенные проблемы, поэтому на этот турнир мы приехали с замены. Буквально вчера мы взяли Бондика, поэтому не могу сказать, что мы на 100% готовы именно к этому турниру, но будем стараться и показывать и тащить на своем личном скилле. Во-первых, у нас будет первая игра против команды Hellraisers. и бывший игрок там Хоббит, который играл до этого в Гамбит. Это очень сильная команда. Мне кажется, с приходом Хоббита она стала еще сильнее. Поэтому, мне кажется, это фавориты нашей, возможно, группы. Что могу сказать еще по бигам? Это легенды. Команда, которая вышла в легенды, и она также в очень хорошей форме. И ТЛУ, который не стоит недооценивать, потому что они сейчас тоже прилетели в чемпионаты, где заняли 2-е место. Поэтому, скорее всего, темные лошадки тут в группе это будем мы. Мы с ним еще даже не общались, с Бондиком, потому что мы только вчера узнали новость по поводу того, что Димасик не получил визу, поэтому мы даже и не успели общаться. Будем все завтра уже играть максимально больше праков и понимать, куда ставить Бондика и чем он может поделиться. Насчет Хоббита я не знаю, может быть, он мог многое что-то рассказать, но скажу сразу, что наша игра с учетом замен 2 игроков, Гамбит полностью освежилась, и она вообще другая. Она не прям такая же, как при Хоббите и Адрене, поэтому, мне кажется, как-то тяжело говорить в этом матче. Результатами этого чемпионата, как и все команды, мы будем рассчитывать, конечно же, на 1-е место, но с учетом замены и всего, я думаю, для нас будет уже отличный выход из группы, а там уже будет, как говорится, видно.
Easily past the group stage. I like the confidence.
Nah, maybe.
I would hope so. I mean, you've got some big teams in that group.
The thing is, as well, with what he was saying about the fact they hadn't even spoken to Bondic yet when that interview was shot, because he rocked up at the venue quite late, I believe it was. The fact of the matter is, it's hard to have expectations of yourself other than just showing up and doing your absolute best, right?
Sure.
Like, I really don't understand. That's what I'm saying. I think, maybe lost in translation. It's hard to come in and say anything will be easy when you have a stand-in.
Exactly.
But I think the thing that's the most interesting is the whole Blade having the game plan kind of set out. Now, you'd have to kind of theory craft and theorize here what that actually means. But a couple of options or a couple of things that you could see there is he has to come in with game plans for every 4 to 5 rounds. So this is pistol, this is what we do if we win pistol, this is what we do if we lose pistol, this is what happens if we win or lose that second round. You need to plan for 4 to 5 rounds at a time, because you get the 4 pauses, right? You can take incremental pauses, and then you need someone still to be a mid-round caller. I'm sure someone still has the responsibility, but if you put enough checks and balances in place, enough mid-round protocols, enough waypoints, it's a lot of work. It is a lot for these players to learn, but it is possible to do coaching and almost be the in-game leader who preps before you get into the game.
Exactly. And that's one of the things, right? We say about Blade's experience as in-game leader. He's literally taken some of the best players that we now have in this CIS region under his wing and dealt with them.
Yeah.
And one thing we noticed from just New York, right, is Blade himself, he is so hands-on, sits down with every individual player. He wants full control of this roster.
The only thing that I think needs to be supplemented by because the coach obviously, as people at home may not be so aware, can't talk the entire time.
Yeah.
The factor there is you need someone with good instincts within the game to make a call if things start falling apart. And that's the difference, right? Angel in the middle of the screen right there is another in-game leader from the CIS region who has been doing this for just as long as Blade, right?
Yes.
You think about how many good in-game leaders actually come out of that region, it's insane. They still have some of the biggest purists left in that regard. And he is a player with Jonta, the coach, and they obviously have the man doing the analysis work on the end there who was just speaking to Hobbit. They feed a lot of information to these players, but they also do a lot of prep work with those waypoints, with those different bits and pieces of the puzzle in the game that I'm talking about to know how to react. And that also helps when you have a team like Hellraisers who have so many different nationalities all speaking a common language of English. This is what Tyloo need to do, which is what Hellraisers have done, and this is why Hellraisers were a top 8 team at the Major, James.
Now, I've got one thing on that as well. This is very interesting because we've got an interview coming up with Issa, but Hobbit, right? He wanted to be on a lineup that speaks English. This was his chance. He comes on the Hellraisers, so I'm interested to see how this works out for him. So let's hear what Issa's got to say.
Our practice when Hobbit came, it was really good, and we were playing really good, like as a team. So I would say, I hope we're gonna play as the same we played in practice. It will be much better. Hobbit speaks English like good, and our communication is not worse or anything. We are trying to work on it, and we are trying to improve it to make it better. We know that we need change in the roster. After before 2-3 months when our team started to fall. Like we didn't play good as we played before, and we couldn't practice because we had some problems in the team. So the only thing would fix it was roster change, I would say, because we tried everything. We tried to talk with each other. We tried like to fix things, but it didn't work. So it just came that we need to do roster change. I would like to play against Team Liquid because we are looking forward to get revenge. It's unusual for me to play in Malta, but it doesn't matter. In the end, we are traveling around the world just to play, right? So it doesn't matter where we play.
It's a good man, very talkative, wants to play against Team Liquid, wants to try and take down the big guns straight away, but he's got to get past Gambit to start off with here. And the thing is, like, how much can Hobbit really give for this lineup, right, in terms of saying what this Gambit lineup could deliver, because so much has changed.
Yeah, well, like they said, you know, it's a refreshed lineup right now. I don't know how much he's going to be able to read into things. And one of the things I think that's going to be massively impactful is the map that we go to. The vetoes are going to be very interesting because you can see these teams, they've played in a lot of different maps. And again, that is a different Gambit roster that we're talking about here with the stand-in as well in play. I'm not too sure we can really read into this all too much.
No, you're right.
No.
Those there, for everybody at home, it shows that they have played in terms of a couple of members in these teams head-to-head. But for what we can look at here, you'd almost grab all of this and you'd throw it away,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You'd almost dismiss the majority of this because of the changes, the stand-in factor, all those bits and pieces. It is going to be more of a brawl. The question about what Hobbit can contribute, it's clear there's 2 stars on this Hellraisers roster. It's Issa and Voxic, right? Those 2 guys are fantastic players. If Hobbit can go back to that form of when they won the major, being a consistent hybrid style player who was, you know, he did very well in anchor style positions. If he can do that and he can be consistently that 3rd star, that's what Hellraisers need to push them to that next level, because 95% of the time, Voxic and Issa are getting theirs, right? They're doing what they need to do. And then Dead Fox and Angel, and I would say I've said the same for Bondic, we're always having those crucial impact 2 to 3K rounds in crunch moments. But if Hobbit can be more of a star and stepping up with even more than that and more consistently, then I guess the sky's the limit for Hellraisers. This could work out to be a very good move. And
it is something that you know, touching on Hobbit being a star player, you know, we saw that on Gambit. He was always clocking up some really impressive statistics. And the thing is, though, you see this a lot of the time when players transition over to another team, although they might be that star player, the role that they're maybe forced into doesn't allow them to play quite to the same standard that they did in a previous lineup. So I'm curious to see how he's going to slot in, especially up against this kind of mixed team, essentially what Gambit are right now. You know, I don't think we're going to see a huge amount of structure for them. I think that might catch Hellraisers by surprise. I mean, look, if you look at Hell right now, they're beating teams like FaZe, but then they're dropping maps to Wendigo. That could maybe swing in Gambit's favor when Hellraisers are now going to be playing against maybe less structured Counter-Strike to what we would see against some of the top teams.
This video here could be interesting. Like, I think, you know, you look at Hellraisers, a map that I first really had my eyes open for them, and this was a long time ago now, was a map like Overpass, and that showed me how much work that Jonta and Angel do as a pair in terms of their in-game leadership. So for me, this is a best of 1. It is a bit of a mystery of a veto. You know, it could end up on a Dust 2 would be a pretty good map for Hellraisers. They favor that.
Well, I don't know. For Gambit, anyways, they're taking out the Puggy style of maps, which is interesting to me, because you'd imagine with the little preparation they've got that they'd be looking for a Cache or a Mirage or a Dust 2.
Yeah, but I think that you could maybe look to identify... What you're saying is with Hobbit coming into the team that maybe roles and stuff will change, but maybe Blade's banking on the fact that things are still very similar and they know a map where they can exploit tendencies.
Yeah, sure.
There's so many trains of thought we can have. We can't get into these guys' brains, so we're not sure exactly. Just for the caster's sake and the viewer at home's sake, we asked about the player, the 16-year-old. AX1LE is how he spells his alias, and it's like Axel, like Excel, but Axel, as opposed to Axile, which is what I thought it was.
Yeah, that was Axel.
Yeah, that's what I would have said.
We asked the Russian, the Ukrainian production here. Don't mix those 2 up. Definitely not. About the pronunciation. They went and found out straight from the horse's mouth. So that's how it's said. Don't blame us. That's just how it's done, and it's Dust 2.
Now, Dust 2, right? It's a map that both teams we've seen them kind of... They've seen the early adopters of Dust 2 on the lineups. Obviously, a big shake-up in how it goes. But my oh my, this is a very similar situation in
Bloody
terms of
Nora.
this. It's not a pretty sight at all. We've got the 16-2 loss for Hellraisers against Big, the loss against Na'Vi, did beat the Space Soldiers lineup, lost against Ago, Windigo, that 61 against Windigo. That was Pro League as well, right, wasn't it? That was the crazy game.
That was
Remember that one?
That was the last one. Now, you can make the argument that towards the end of Pro League, maybe teams stopped caring as much about these games because they've already secured their places a lot of the time. You saw the Astralis AGO game; they're playing with 150 ping, and you know they weren't exactly taking it too seriously because they know they got the #1 spot. Now, Hellraisers, I can't remember where they finished. Now I think they'd already secured.
They're in the top 7.
Yeah, so they didn't, like, all they're fighting for at that point is seeding, and you kind of got to think, is it worth giving away your strategies for someone like Windigo? Even still, though, 16-1 on a map like Dust 2, it's not a map that you need massive strats on. You just need to be hitting shots, and that's actually a very worrying scoreline. So what I was talking about earlier with that 2-0 loss to Windigo, it was a convincing win for Windigo.
I think with Hellraisers on, if we just look at the pieces of the puzzle they have, because we don't know how this one's going to play out necessarily new playstyle wise, there's a pretty decent double AWP setup. Obviously, Dead Fox used to be the main AWPer for Hellraisers. Now he does more secondary duties, whereas Voxic is the primary AWPer. And Voxic, we know, he has that very high sensitivity. He gets a lot done with the big green. So, you know, those are two massive win factors right there for this Hellraisers team. If you're looking at the side of things, I'm just excited to see what this youngster brings, because we have the likes of Sergey for Ents, an absolute monster. We've got Broland coming in from the likes now of the Sweden Counter-Strike playing for Fnatic, proving very early that he has a fantastic demeanor and he's great at the game. If this kid can come in here and he can have very promising signs from the get-go, that's great. Just it's the new generation, right? We're just seeing these new Counter-Strike players coming out of the woodwork, and this is the future of the game. So I'm really that for me is the biggest takeaway of this whole matchup, because I have Hellraisers as my favorite. Just how well this kid can perform. I'm not expecting a lot from this roster purely because they do have the stand-in factor. It's always interesting to see if Blades brought any new cool, well thought out strategies as well, I guess.
Well, I think when we move to best of 3, certainly that will start to impact them a little bit. I mean, they're going to have tonight to prepare for the best of 3 stages, and that's it with Bondic. But here on Dust 2, I think, although that is a map that Hellraisers are usually comfortable on, excluding recent results, Gambit, I think, are going to be happy with that, because, again, that is a map where they can avoid thinking too much about, oh, we haven't pracked, we haven't got strats. You know, just run the basics, you know. Rush B. That's what they like to do.
Maybe not just that. Maybe not.
You have to yell some choice words as you do that before you rush in B.
Exactly, of course. And it's Rush B, not just Rush.
I've been playing I played like 2 days of back-to-back Counter-Strike for the first time in a long time, and I play with a lot of different nationalities. Yeah. And I know about 3 words in every language now, I think. So
perfect. I know what the Russian words are.
I did them before for you guys. Das Vidanya, Privyet, Spasiba, Nyet, and Da. That's all I know.
That's 5.
The cameraman looks happy with that, so I either did it real good or something sounded wrong.
He's just mocking you deeply inside at this
idiot
moment.
Australian.
God damn it, can you get it right?
Ignorant country only knows one language. Yeah, we are pretty ignorant. It sucks, though. I wish we knew more. I wish we learned Japanese at school. What did you guys learn in the UK?
Well, French and German, but I got kicked out of French, so that didn't go too well.
Yeah. We learn Irish.
Yeah, but English. Yeah.
It's pointless.
Very useful. Very useful.
Irish, English, French. It's great.
Well, what would the Irish say about knife rounds?
I don't know.
Tilly die.
Oh my god.
And there'd be like a leprechaun that comes out of the end there as well. Pot of gold.
Wow. My god. We're gonna have to sort this out outside.
When the Irish come to Australia, they always get in fights. Like, not with Australians, with other Irish people.
Oh, well, that's even more common.
Yeah,
they don't like each other.
Why are they fighting with each other?
You are quite a rowdy bunch. We've actually somehow got 3 of you here at one event. It's like,
and there's been no problems so far.
You were close.
There've been very few problems. All right. There were very few problems. Let's put it that way.
Very few problems, but let's look at how we think this is going to go prediction-wise, right? I think Hellraisers certainly have got an edge in it in terms of, obviously, it's an actual lineup. They're together.
It's funny we have to say that. They're an actual team. They actually have the 5 players who are meant to be here, as opposed to Gambit, who have a last-minute stand-in who they've only spoken to for 24 hours.
Yeah, that's what's insane. It's not even like you've had no time at all.
I think they've had like 12 hours or something.
If that doesn't really add context to it, though, for the viewer, I don't know what does. I think that maybe if we wanted to make it seem like it can be a closer affair, Dust 2 historically is more of a potentially puggy map or one that can flow quite easily if people are finding space and room.
Yeah.
But I think in more recent times of Dust 2, it's been played a lot more structured.
Sure.
I think since its reintroduction to the pool, it's felt a lot more structured in its approach. So what I just said, forget it.
You know, I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
But at least you're being honest, Chad.
I'm agreeing on your points, right? But just based on the simple statistics, we don't know what they had for dinner. Maybe it was McDonald's.
That's
all
true.
Right? You've got that, and you've also got to think about the fact that today we've said, you know, there's been like a 70-30 chance of this team winning. 30 makes it very close. And then we say there's a 90-10 and it's an overtime. I'm saying Gambit win this.
Wow.
I've learned my lesson.
Okay,
Gambit are taking this map.
Well, you're wrong. Hellraisers are the favorite. The Hellraisers should win with all the data that we have, which is extremely limited as well. But realistically speaking, this should be a Hellraisers game. This is one of those situations, man. Like Gambit recently were able to qualify for the closed for the minor, I think, for the CIS region, right?
Yeah,
like that was those games you were talking about. They were able to get there. So,
but it was a struggle along the way. Like I said, 2 maps dropped to the Mega, 1 to Jumka's Money Crew. That was literally a mixed team of like random guys.
It's all right though. It was like out of the 16 teams, 8 teams make it to the minor.
Sure.
So you get a 50% chance.
Yeah, but losing against those low teams. Well, look, I'm arguing against myself here.
I thought, you were going for Gambit. You were on the Gambit side of things. Look, let's just wait and see what happens. Can we say that?
So you don't even want to make a prediction?
That's
no. I think Hellraisers are going to win,
Okay.
but like I can't give you any other clear indications because there's so many new players on this Gambit roster that the whole dynamic has changed, right? The dynamic was still evolving in front of us. Like we knew that Hobbit wanted to go, and then Adren now wants to go, and now they're left, and well, Blade's gone. Well, screw y'all. Like I'm not going to leave you playing on the team. I'm going to replace you with some other, and he's gone out there, and this is a cool new project. We get to see where that gets to go. And then it's cool to see how Hobbit slots into Hellraisers. There's a lot of cool things to learn, but we have to watch before we can learn.
Just purely because of the fact that Hellraisers are struggling against the lower teams, though, like the one we saw there, Wendigo 16-1 on this map. I think that lack of structure affects them just based on their recent results against the lower teams. So I do feel like Gambit have got a shot here. For that reason, and also the fact that, you know, Dust 2, although recently it has been that kind of structured level of Counter-Strike, I feel like they could reach in and find an upset with just random attacks. Because they've got the individual skill level there, especially with Bondic.
Are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready. And I know we've kind of done our predictions already, but Mitch, quick, you're going with?
Gambit.
Cool. Chad?
Hellraisers.
And I'll go with Hellraisers as well because I think it's just a logical decision to make at this point. Oh. But it's time for us to get into the game. Mitch is on his own, living in cuckoo land. It's obviously what the Irish people do at this stage. But we've got one more Irish person we can throw to. Dean's on the desk with Scriv to take us through Dust 2 between Hellraisers and Gambit.
Thank you very much, James. Yeah, I'm not so sure on that one. I mean, wasn't it last game James predicted Kingwin to win against NRG?
Yeah.
And now he's flaming you Irish guys for being
he went for a little bit of a random one. He's pointing out the fact that it was a close game in the last one, but this one hasn't happened yet. This could be close as well. Who knows?
Yeah, that seems to be the message of the day. Who really knows? As kind of all the analysis that's been done throughout the day over on the couch, I guess we'll call it, has been very kind of clear-cut on a lot of sides. Big should have taken it. NRG did, but it should have been a lot easier. You know, things are not quite as clear as they seem here out in Malta, so it's kind of difficult to predict at this point in time. I think for me, I've been a big fan of kind of Hellraisers and Angel, especially as an in-game leader, and I think Hobbit coming into that team could be really good for them as well. So I think I am kind of going to edge that way, but at the same time, again, kind of reiterating what has been said, but Dust 2 is a map where your individuals really can fly off the handle and just take over a game. It's definitely possible for Gambit to come into this one pretty strong and maybe test Hellraisers a fair amount.
Yeah, I think if I was to actually take a gamble as well, though, I would go ahead and actually put it on towards Hellraisers. Just having the roster they brought in Hobbit, of course, recently, that is the change, but they've had a little bit of time to prepare at least. And of course, then for Gambit, bringing in Axel pretty recently, not being able to actually bring Demasicker due to some visa issues, having to have Bondic as the stand-in, and apparently not even actually been able to talk with him up until a few hours ago. So
yeah, he got here fairly late, unfortunately.
Yes, it's not really ideal, but who knows? It is Counter-Strike after all. That's why people love this game. You can have those upsets. It's not always as easy to predict as you would hope, but it's going to be interesting going into this one. Two teams that I think are going to have a little bit of a rivalry now coming into this one. And even if it's not an interesting match in terms of the scoreline, it should be an interesting one in terms of the storyline that is built from it.
Hopefully should be getting into the action quickly. I think one thing for me, though, we talk about what we know. What we don't know, per se, as much is Axel and how he's going to perform. There is definitely a chance here that a map that he's comfortable on, you know, maybe they have put a lot of pressure on his shoulders, could definitely come into fruition here and really perform. I believe before this he was on 5 balls, which is kind of a tier 3 CIS sort of team. And I think we've casted them a few times here and there, and I think certainly is a name that I definitely remember and one that's kind of stood out. And I remember it's kind of difficult in that CIS region again. At a time, you know, Gambit, when things started going awry for them, pulled in Fitch, wasn't it, for a little bit, and he performed really well for a while in a few tournaments and then just kind of dropped off quite heavily. So hopefully Axel could give us a pretty good showing here, and the one thing that works for him, obviously, is 16. So it's pretty
young. Yeah, lots of room. And
Exactly.
I guess another thing is you can look at Blade having such an experienced leader behind them as the coach, and actually trying to slot him into that lineup definitely could be molding them into a talent that Gambit really do need.
Certainly. It does look, as you can see, zooming in onto that big old projector screen. We are going to be getting into the pistol here momentarily. Already been an opening pick for the aforementioned Axel very early on indeed, as he's just rushed out long all by himself here. The rest of the players going to be moving up short. They kind of try and trade it back on the Hellraisers side, but decide against it. Angel going to get caught off guard completely. It's all going to be onto Voxic as he's holding on from no man's land, able to pick up 2 very quickly indeed. The star player certainly for this Hellraisers side. The bomb is going to get planted, but they're giving Voxic these fights. All his teammates seem to be falling, but there it is. The 3K in from Voxic eventually. Dead Fox able to clean up Mir, and the kit available isn't going to be needed. Hellraisers very nicely done from those 2 players, you know, that were quite heavily talked about on the analyst desk. Really, really worth their weight in gold. Voxic especially, just managing to stay alive there is pretty filthy.
Yeah, the fact that he was on long with players coming in from both sides, he finds that first kill immediately on, I believe it was Axel who pushed out long, takes him down, and then is able to just flick back over and find those headshots, holding the tight angles, making sure that he could try and actually remain in safety as well, as he was just hoping, I guess, to try and chip away at the Gambit side and allow that bomb to be planted. But yeah, an impressive pistol round coming in. But surprisingly, we are actually going to see the force buy from Gambit. The bomb plant being put down gives them that extra $800. They can go ahead and actually buy up Galil's into this one alongside a scout on the Mo. And let's see what they're going to be able to find with it. Bondic, I'm surprised. Oh, I was going to say I was surprised he was escaping, but in the end does actually end up falling to those flames. So a 5-on-4 found for Hellraisers early on. That makes things a little bit more difficult for them. They fully forced into this one, of course, so they will be looking for the round win. And that's not really the ideal start.
It's a very CIS force buy, isn't it? As soon as you can get any kind of rifle out, just go for it. No thought of utility or AKs or anything like that. Just pure automatic weaponry is what they were after. And Mo on a scoped weapon. The class of choice for him, apparently, of course. But yeah, it's a little bit difficult in a round like this, especially now that they've lost the first man. I don't think there's going to be a great deal of recovery. Nice little bait setup here. Voxic, though, does get cleaned up. Fair to many players to be dealing with. Angel now on the site to hold things down, but at least Gambit have evened it back up into a 4-on-4.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to try and actually just bring this down and try and make their way out on the middle. A nice kill to be found, but it is traded back. That nade not quite going to be able to find anything, but it is at least a small bit of extra damage to be connected. But Gambit now, they're grouping up. They're going to try and make their way out onto this B bomb site. And Dead Fox is going to have to try and lock it down. He has the FAMAS, and he already finds himself 2 kills. And with Mo being low, he has an easy time at just cleaning that one up. A nice little shutdown in the end. Hellraisers do manage to come out of that round with 3 players alive. And Gambit haven't fully invested, of course. They are just going to have to go ahead and take the eco now this time around. Maybe a couple of upgraded pistols, but I wouldn't really expect much more than that.
Stack them up, knock them down for Dead Fox, it would appear. As it's a nasty little angle to deal with, that first player especially being the one that was, you know, on full HP. Arguably needed to check that or run straight past it to make the trades a bit easier. Unfortunately, it doesn't go that way, and he gets himself a nice little 3K. Perfect flash here as well. Angel with a speedy little ace. Goodness me, out of nowhere. They were all stacked on top of each other, but like I say, a great flash comes in I believe it would have been from Issa.
It was, yeah.
That is nasty. And he's earning a lot of bank. Gets himself a very early and very fast ace as well.
Yeah, indeed he does. Getting himself up to, I believe it was $3,000 there for himself off the back of that ace on the MP9. Not going to bother upgrading off of it either, surprisingly. With that many kills, he probably could have afforded to have just got himself an M4 into this round, but perhaps feeling confident. Going to stick with that one, take a little bit of the bonus round approach into this one, as really the entire team are. There's only that one M4 in play. I heard a bit of type in the chat. I feel like it may be a pause being called in. Seems like Hellraisers have gone ahead and actually slowed themselves down, so...
Maybe they went to try and go for a pause, it didn't come through, and they're trying to, you know, play the old, we've not taken any damage. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I realized something was wrong there. We've seen, of course, all of them just kind of standing still as they were leaving the spawn.
Because again, for, you know, people at home that may not know, that is the rule set, that if the round has started but you've not taken any damage is generally what they say, and it's still within, I don't know, the first 30 seconds to a minute. If you look like you are like, we called a pause, it didn't work. Because obviously, from time to time, it can be a little bit awkward, the plugins that are being used. Obviously, it's all done by StarLadder.
Hopefully there's not too big of an issue, something that can be resolved quickly. Everyone still has their headsets on this time around.
It looks like they're actually playing, so I'm not quite sure. I think they might be waiting for the match medic, to be fair, to bring things back to where it was. But yeah, with the nature of Valve being a little bit more open, of course, it's always bit of a chore in these types of rounds at times. It's kind of a technical pause, but we're not really waiting for anything. We know this time around what it is that the issue is, thankfully. But yeah, a really good start from Hellraisers so far. Dust 2 can be, again, another map similar to Cash in a sense, where one team can just run away with things so easily and lock their opponents out, because it's a very simple map to wrap your head around. In terms of rotations, in terms of where to push aggressively, you know, and you can have double-pronged attacks on A as a T player, perhaps, but you're quite far away from each other, so it can be hard to trade. You know, the 2 points of attack need to be effective. At the same time, the B bomb site's very hard to retake, so it's like both sides have their ups and downs on Dust 2. I'd say it's a very, very even map in the current state of CS.
I'm looking forward to seeing what Gambit can do, actually, now when they get these rifles out, though. It's going to be the first gun round we've seen from this new Gambit lineup, so it'll be interesting to see what they can find. And it looks like Axel, again, is just going to push straight out onto Long. And actually does manage to find the opening kill onto Hobbit, who's caught off guard a little bit. I think that smoke may have actually landed against his legs, kind of restricting his movement. And with a Long control already being found, they want to try and just split straight towards this A-bomb site. Doja trying to push up through short, ends up actually falling to the M4 of Issa. Quickly being eliminated. A nice smoke being put down to try and allow for Issa to cross back over. Isn't quite as effective as he would have hoped. Eventually being finished off, and Angel just peeks out into his doom. The motor with the op ready to shut him down. There was another couple of players with their vision on that position as well. And suddenly it's all on Dead Fox. He's going for the flank, but it seems like Gambit are being cautious of this.
Really like that from Axel, though. You know, he gets himself a good little spawn. Dust 2, probably one of the few maps in CSGO where, you know, spawns can be kind of important to what you do within a round. But I really do like it. You know what I mean? You would have thought coming into this, he's a young player, he's a new player to this sort of level of Counter-Strike, and out of nowhere, he just comes in with a very, very ballsy play indeed to open up, and then things just kind of fall apart. Hellraisers seemingly peeking one by one, hoping to somehow pick up the pieces on an individual level, but unfortunately it was just too easy for Gambit. They were all grouped up and made quick work of that CT side. Still got money to buy up here. The double up setup coming out as well. This was talked about a little bit, although it was more, I think, Dead Fox that generally tends to pick up the second AWP. However, they're all very capable, it would seem, on the Hellraisers side of things. So we'll have to see. This, again, could be one of those blessings in disguise very early on if they're able to mount the reset.
Yeah, I think that second up being in the hands of Issa was more just about the economy. Dead Fox only able to buy up an MP9, and I guess he didn't really want to trade the op for the MP9.
That's
and
fair enough.
As you said, also Issa, of course, very capable with that weapon. Woxic being the primary upper, though, gets the leg shot initially, and then goes ahead and actually spams through to finish off Doja. Looks like a bit of contact could also be found towards short now. Angel needs to be cautious. He's playing a position there really where he can just go for the shoulder peaks. The second he finds that info, can then just drop down to the CT spawn. And of course it is Woxic then back on the ramp now, ready with that up to try and give him assistance if it's needed. But for now, at least Gambit, they have just around 50 seconds remaining. They have to come to a decision pretty quickly about where they're actually going to try and take this one. And as they do find the short control, that gives them the option, if they want, to try and go towards this A-bomb site.
Slowly taken in towards middle, though. It would seem a bit of a B split is what they're going to go for. 2 smokes in at CT. There's a player with that AWP, of course, holding from the window, and it's Angel to come through the smoke. Leaves it all onto Axel, that one player that was over at B. And unfortunately, cannot get anything done. Arguably, he was the player that should have dealt with the AWP at window a little bit sooner. But a solid distraction play coming in from Hellraisers allows for the smoke push, and an easy 2K for Angel there.
Yeah, a nice hold there as well. As you said, the Opper being serving as a bit of a distraction, being able to pick up that first kill as well, and then Angel just able to go ahead and pounce and just shut down that push completely on middle. Axel sadly not really able to get much done as the last man standing. So it is looking good now for Hellraisers. As you said, they come in with that instant reset and break the economy of Gambit, and they're just coming into this round with a lot of confidence. The Op already able to find the opening kill towards Suicide. Angel just pushing straight up mid. And although he does find himself 1 kill, he is taken down eventually by Doja with a bit of assistance, surprisingly, from Woxic.
Yeah, everybody greedy for the frags, it would seem. I thought I saw a little hit marker come from behind, which is never a good sign when you're all the way pushed.
They're just running up mid with the ops. This is dangerous.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But, I mean, Hellraiser's looking to shut this one down pretty quickly and just get into the heads of their opponents. Okay. Bondic with a drive-by, though. Woxic certainly going to have his confidence checked, but it does look like the T side. At this point, I'm not sure whether they're saving or just kind of holding for more aggression. I think they are just holding kind of passively while Axel tries to find the information. Really do like this. He's been so proactive so far. Maybe they are giving him the room to just kind of do as he pleases. It's been semi-effective, I would say. Hobbit, though, again, holding a pretty nasty angle, a relatively new sort of angle. Here on Dust 2, has to turn away from the flashbang. So Molotov and Nade to follow. Bondic going to get taken down to 10 HP in such an awkward spot. Issa as well gets mollied out, misses the shot, but the spray return from Hobbit is almost good. Such low HP players here on this T side. Axel and Bondic, though, both chiming in. Deadfox finds himself suddenly in a 2-on-1, but it is definitely doable for him. Clean headshot onto Axel. Knows that Bondic has got to be around this site here. It comes down to the mind games. Flash going to go high, doesn't blind up Bondic at all. Deadfox doesn't seem to know where he is at all, but has plenty of time with that kit, making so much noise, though. Bondic playing the box perfectly. Oh my god, he is right next to him right here. This defuse not yet coming in. It does get tapped. Deadfox just to the right. Bondic waiting to spray down, but eventually gets it. And the positional advantage secures yet another round for Gambit.
That was so perfectly played by Bondic right there. Just been, especially with the 10 health, he couldn't really afford to take that fight, so he had to kind of try and play a little bit more on the time and get himself to actually have a little bit of a surprise, I guess, to jump on his opponent. And yeah, just does so perfectly. A nice round overall. Axel having some nice picks as well. And with that, Gambit are able to find themselves a second round. Hellraisers actually not going to have a great economy with the damage that's been done in those previous rounds. Able to pull out the op again, at least on the Woxic. But as you can see, Deadfox and Issa are going to be pushed down to those 5-7s only. And also, utility-wise, they have very little to work with. The round having just begun. They do only have 1 smoke in their possession now after Hobbit throws his one down towards that long position.
Yeah, it does seem in that previous round that, like, a bit too aggressive from Hellraisers. Pays off initially, they get the man advantage, and then when they lose Angel, I feel like they should just back off and play that advantage and that double up setup, you know, make it work. But like you kind of noted, it was dangerous to keep on pushing, and their overconfidence is their downfall in the end. And Gambit, yeah, able, not quite as clean as they would like maybe, but definitely recovering it back. And not allowing Hellraisers to run away with things. And certainly a chance to actually pick up a fair few rounds if they're able to win this one here. But as you can see, very early on in this game, yet again, sketchy economies on both sides, all to play for. Could swing either way at this point in time.
Yeah, only the scout in the hands of Mo as well being a little bit of a weakness for the Gambit side, but Let's see, Hobbit looking to try and get aggressive on long, needs to be cautious because of course Doja is going to be waiting for any aggression. He finds the headshot quite easily. Woxic going to be up close on long, actually allowed to have the time to pull it back so that he can actually find that second kill on the Doja. Goes for the repeat and takes down Bondic. And he's just completely shutting down this long push. 1 by 1 is not how you want to be going for that Gambit. Given the chances to Woxic, who we know definitely has the skill to capitalize on those mistakes, and he ends up making a quad kill in the end. That's just awkward for Gambit. Look at their economy now. They have 3 players sitting at a double eco, and I think off the back of that they may consider actually just buying into this one.
It's a pretty difficult one. Maybe we'll see it on a quick little replay or something like that. But Doja was actually in a really good position to trade it, right? Woxic is relatively out in the open, and obviously that kind of half a second of time recocking the AWP is when you aim to try and take him down, but the confidence just not there from the man machine that is Doja, of course. It is pretty awkward for him. He just gives, like you said, too much time to Woxic to allow the continuation of follow-up kills to come through. Little bit of a mess from Gambit on the communication. It should have been a straight-up peak trade. And like as we see here, so Doja has the opportunity and he just stops, right? He could have crept around that corner quite easily and taken him down after that first kill. And you know, again, it's another round where you pick up that player. Woxic doesn't get a 4K. Suddenly you've eliminated quite a key player in that round. So yeah, it's a little bit confusing. I think the Gambit lineup, again, still some of the players relatively new and all that kind of stuff. Just not as confident as they once were.
Yeah, with that new lineup as well, communication definitely something that could be a bit of a problem. The team play as well, and I think we kind of just seen that there in that previous round, as you said. Doja, I guess he wasn't really exactly sure if Woxic had already been able to actually cock the bolt back, but he went for the shoulder peek and then he goes for the wide swing. Of course, wasn't actually able to bait the shot out. Woxic, we know that he's very patient. He has a high sense and is going to hit those flicks no matter what. And yeah, with that, it is going to be a 5-2 lead for Hellraisers. It started off here as a tactical pause for HR, but seems to have changed into a bit of a technical one.
Aye, they all seem kind of happy, having a bit of a chin wag, as we say.
Never heard that before.
Really?
No.
I know we're kind of, you know, across the little sea or whatever, but yeah, chin. It's like chatting.
Okay.
Might even be like a Northern English thing. In all honesty, I don't know.
Could be. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before, so it's a new one.
Start pulling out all the Cockney rhyming slang.
Sure I wouldn't. I don't think anyone would understand you.
Exactly.
So probably
James would. James would.
Yeah, James, but I think it's more important that the viewers understand. Yeah. Hopefully this issue can be resolved quickly. Not quite sure what's going on, but it doesn't seem like there's issues, at least over on the Hellraiser side. Perhaps someone over on the Gambit side having a couple of issues. Everyone's still talking, though. That's definitely something you can know, because usually I don't think you can talk during the technical pauses. Because it depends on the rule set.
I don't think so. So I'm not quite sure what the deal is. Maybe they found a loophole, start it off as a tactical pause, and then make it a technical pause, and you can actually talk. No one knows what to do.
I don't know if that loophole would really work.
Nah, probably not. I'm pretty sure Valve would stamp down on it. Because that's generally where it comes from, right? Valve make the rule sets or whatever, and then all the TOs kind of follow suit because it just makes sense. If that's what the major system is going to be using. They look like they're all ready to go, though. This is why it's a little bit confusing as to what is actually going on. Okay, they are ready to go.
Yeah, already back in the action, so it is indeed another round coming in. It's Hellraisers again looking to try and get aggressive. This time around, they're not actually against the rifles, but as I said, Gambit having a couple of players like kind of push down to the double eco. They have decided to force into this one. And let's see what they can get done, because at least to start things off, it's not looking great for them. Axel able to find the one trade, and actually Mo comes in and quickly takes down Hobbit. Needed that assistance there from the upper, but Woxic being taken down to so low, wasn't really allowed to actually reface on that one. He does now eventually and gets the tag up onto Mo, but still a 3-on-3. This is actually kind of doable for Gambit.
Yeah, I think there is a case to be made. When you get aggressive on that CT side up mid on Dust 2, you have to keep going. You can't stop because there's so many different angles that you can get taken down from. As we saw there, they just kind of stagnated. There was player coming in from suicide, player coming around the corner, which the smoke helped out, but then there could always be a backstab as well from lower, and it's very, very, very difficult to deal with all those angles at once. So a little bit of a mistake from the CTs, I think, to just slow down, lose their confidence. It's like if you're going to go for that play, you really have to dedicate to it, especially if you're going that far up middle. You can't back away, you can't stop. You've got to keep moving forwards, and unfortunately they get caught quite easily there. So into a 3-on-3, and definitely a doable one here for Gambit, in all honesty. Woxic, I think it's kind of a combination of the two letters, isn't it, really? It's like a... I'm not too sure.
I just stick with Woxic.
Yeah, I think
it's a little bit easier to pronounce, but yeah, with him being low, perhaps, as you said, there is a bit of a chance there for Gambit, but he does have the op, so he just needs to connect those one shots, and also then into the spawn is Angel, who can try and actually spot that crossover without a smoke to put down, or at least they didn't have one initially, I don't believe. I think they did actually throw one deeper in, but going for the peaks beforehand means it's not really all that useful. Didn't allow for it to actually bloom, so cleaned up quite easily. Hellraisers, in the end, they do manage to come out on top of that round with 3 players alive. Not perfect in terms of building up their economy, but not the biggest of deals, because Gambit into this one are going to be, after going for the force buy, at least just forced down to the pistols.
Just sticking with the 1-AWP, again, might be a question of money, but they did pull out that double AWP setup a little bit earlier, but again, as we saw on Train, to be fair, from NRG particularly, that double AWP setup is so expensive to keep rolling on the CT side.
Especially when they know they're up against pistols in this round. A double AWP setup would be maybe a little bit scary.
Yeah, indeed. Only the one Deagle, though, to speak of. Angel got to be careful, though. Gets immediately dinked out and taken down, just completely caught off guard with a nade in hand. That's going to be eventually an M4 for Axel to retrieve, and of course that bomb going down. And a 5 versus 4. Still the superior weaponry for Hellraisers, but very little information for them to work with. It was a very passive hold on A, not much opportunity to get any return frags, and they all drop in towards CT. This is going to make it a little bit difficult. Hobbit going to have to find a fair few here, and I don't think he's going to be prepared for this entirely. That 1 M4 could be a bit of a difference maker as Axel picks up another kill. Bondic a 3rd for Gambit now, and a 4 versus 2 on the final approach. More and more damage being done. They're all peeking in at the same time. Issa does manage to chime in with one Woxic as well, but are they saving?
They have to. There's
oh yeah, the bomb, of course.
Yeah.
It's been so long. I completely lost track of that. Goodness me. It had been down for so long. That's a huge, huge blunder from Hellraisers. Jesus.
Yeah, I feel like they're getting a little bit overconfident at points. We had that issue, of course, where we saw them push up mid with the double up setup early on, and when they were in that 4-on-2 and ended up kind of losing that against Axel and Bondic. And coming into this now, Axel, sure, he got a nice opening kill, able to get the M4 down, and then they just kind of picked them apart. Bondic on the Glock was even able to pick up a kill over towards Long, I believe it was. So Hellraisers, as I said, they didn't really manage to actually build up too much economy. They do still at least have the op into the hands of Woxic, alongside a couple of rifles. They do also have some weaknesses coming in terms of the buy, and Axel, I was going to say, he had some good time in there as he pushed up short, but Angel, at kind of longish range on that MP9, is somehow able to actually come out on top of that battle.
Just slowing things down as everything starts to kind of fall into place a little bit for Hellraisers here. Looking quite good so far. Obviously, Gambit just pulling one back, stealing one away, but those rounds can be quite hard to rely upon consistently when you just crazy pistol spamming. Bit of a failed Molotov over towards Car means that Bondic has to replace it, trying to again bait out Woxic or play around Mir with that AWP. Which is slightly interesting to see, to be fair, that he's on it, but regardless, we'll see what he can pull out. Oh, there you go. The trade immediately coming in on the AWPs, but that's still going to work out for Hellraisers. Still got a man advantage. There's still Mir on low HP. So Gambit on the back foot pretty solidly here. A few Molotovs preemptively to stop them from entering the site. As Mo is so far forward compared to the rest of the team with that bomb as well. They really do need to be careful here. Hobbit hiding away, but gets spotted out, taken down. Not having the best of games in all fairness, but the rest of the boys seem to be doing okay. Meanwhile, the bomb goes down, and it's actually into a 1-on-3 somehow. This is a bit of a crazy round so far. Gambit were behind, and they've not lost a player for quite some time. It looks like, yeah, the save coming in from Dead Fox is going to be a 4th round. They avoid the reset, and Hellraisers now are certainly being tested.
Yeah, Isidore as well. I feel like he probably should have been able to find that kill when he pushed out. I'm not sure who it was. I think it was, if I remember correctly, Doja on the ramp that he had a little bit of a drop on from behind and ended up getting taken down. And surprisingly, Dead Fox continues to try and go for it there with that MP9 is going to be finished off. So Gambit managing to actually chain themselves 2 rounds together. That is going to go ahead and actually force Hellraisers down onto an eco now. I wouldn't imagine they'll be able to get too much into this next round. Maybe a couple of upgraded pistols. Probably not too much else. And yeah, it seems like Hobbit so far to start this game off is really struggling.
Yeah, it's a little bit worrisome. It's kind of the 2 sides of things, I guess, is he's new for his team. We got Axel, who's new for Gambit, who seems to be slotting in fairly well so far. Just a bit of a carefree attitude. Meanwhile, Hobbit, without that assist, would of course be on the James Bond scoreline. So interesting, to say the least. Mir gets tagged up early, therefore Mo has to sacrifice his AWP. The Bogdan Law in full effect, of course. But nonetheless, Gambit should be able to take this one because of that weaker weaponry once again from Hellraisers. But it never seems to be that simple. We've seen quite a few rounds, not only in this game, but also across the course of the day, just kind of fall by the wayside. It's that preparedness. You try and anti-strat the rifle rounds, and then suddenly you find yourself getting a little bit overwhelmed by gun rounds.
Yeah, but with just really the 2 5.7s being upgraded into this one, you would imagine Gambit should have a pretty easy time closing this round out. But let's see. Every kill that Hellraiser can actually manage to bring in is a positive, been able to drop just some more of those rifles, maybe even claim some for themselves to save over into the following round. And looks like, again, Gambit are probably just going to favor on towards the A-bomb site. This really has been their main focus. We've seen them one time, of course, try and go for that split on towards B. It wasn't very successful. And since then, the A-bomb site has really just been their target in every single round. And it's beginning to go really well for them. They've had a mixture, I suppose, in terms of success, but it's all about just trying to grind these rounds out on the T side. And it looks like they should be able to find the round number 5 in just a couple of moments, because they already have the bomb planted. They're shutting down the rotations. Axel in a bit of an awkward spot. I was going to say, if he goes down, it gives away an AK, and he is indeed dropped by Issa. And actually, Dead Fox somehow able to pick that one up onto Doji. I think that was just a P2000.
Yeah, I mean, can be pretty crisp on the P2K, to be fair. You know, because a lot of players with the automatic weaponry do kind of fall into the trap of holding mouse 1. And those pistols, which obviously with the little bit better running accuracy, can often make a bit of a difference. Mo handed a free kill onto Dead Fox there. But yeah, Gambit still surviving with the bare minimum of 3. It's just a little bit awkward that they give away some rifles. It allows for slightly better utility and, of course, once again, that one-tap potential. Paul's going to be coming in here from Hellraisers. Tactical this time, as Woxic been having a hell of a game so far. Unfortunately, the rest of the boys not quite keeping up. So if he goes down, it's actually, you know, a little bit of the simple syndrome type deal, where it can be a huge, huge difference for that Hellraisers side if he's not available.
Yeah, really needs to get that off back into his hands as well, of course. Good job at least being able to save over 2 AKs, of course, so it does kind of boost up the buy for Hellraisers coming into this round, and they are going to be talking about exactly what they want to go for. Maybe try and swap things up. I think they should definitely be talking about the fact that so far they've been a little bit too overconfident, perhaps. We've seen, of course, when they pushed up mid. We've seen some other times where they were getting kind of needlessly aggressive when they had advantages, etc. And I feel like they need to just compose themselves, because as long as they just play together, they do seem to be the stronger team. And here we go. Woxic, he's back on the up now. The only real weakness coming into this round is the FAMAS on the Dead Fox. And even though that's not really the biggest of deals, it's good to see Mo finally has the up back in his hand, though. It'll be interesting to see if Mir gets tagged down early again and has to swap it over to Bogdan Law, of course.
Kind of makes you think maybe he's doing it on purpose.
He's like, yeah, he just wants the up. He wants to buff up those up kills.
Yeah, man.
Bit of damage early onto Doja, at least, down to 72. Not the most substantial, but it does make it a little bit easier for that M4, and also, of course, the FAMAS on towards Doja. If they get into a fight, the helmet won't really be very useful.
Just a relatively slow start. Hellraisers seemingly learning their lesson of getting a bit too aggressive. Bit of a bait setup here, or that Molotov really going to put a thorn in the side of both those CT players. They both have to back away. Woxic survives as he can drop down, but Angel, unfortunately, going to fall early. We'll leave Hellraisers with that man disadvantage, and Gambit in kind of full control of what they want to do. Woxic misses the shot On towards Mura, I believe. May well have gotten the tag, actually. He's on pretty low HP now, so but still, doesn't get the kill. That's the important thing. Hobbit on the edge of the smoke here, looking for his first frag of the game. As he gets a bit aggressive, he does manage to find one, but immediately traded back. Woxic at long, goes for the re-peek. Kind of has to in that situation to make something happen. It's still a man advantage for Gambit. And these two CTs solidly locked out of the site. Kit's available, not a great deal of utility though. Axel got to be watching for this push surely, but he looks away. That might just give them the opportunity that they need. The boost going to come in, but Bondic reads it, and it will be down to Dead Fox in a 1-on-3. Not really the highest of hopes. They know exactly where he is, and Axel takes him down. I thought it was a flying shot from Bondic, but
yeah, me too.
Thankfully for embarrassment, it was not. But Hobby gets his first kill. That's kind of good for Hellraisers, but they lose the round.
Maybe a little bit of a mental game coming in here, playing against his former teammates,
Possibly.
of course. It can be a little bit difficult to try and get your mind into the game when you're against people that you've played with for so long. You're like,
Yeah.
I need to show up now. I left this team. I need to be winning against them. And right now, that's not looking really to be confirmed. 6-6, Gambit putting up a pretty solid T side. Thus, do not really a map that is heavily favored towards either side, but a lot of people, I guess, do say it's slightly T-sided, but let's see. Hobbit able to get himself a second kill now. That's a nice little upgrade towards the AK. Going to go ahead and toss that over towards one of his teammates. It was given initially to Dead Fox, but given to Issa in the end, as he does have Kevlar to back it up.
Still a fair amount of control for Gambit at long so far. Just slowly edging their way forward, of course, with hardly any utility for Hellraisers. They just kind of have to let this happen and then hope that they can fight on the close range front or kind of together and overwhelm, especially now with this man advantage. Issa holding wide, slightly risky as he is starting to encroach onto this position. Angel, meanwhile, did have a bit of an opportunity at flank, but opts not to go for it. There you go. Axel just quickly takes down Issa, which is so easy. Another kill in for him as well. Looking really good so far. These pistols don't think have a hope in hell. They might want to try and retrieve the AK and just go for the save. Axel doing great work as he gets another. And Mo to find, I thought he was going to find the final two, but it's actually Dozer who steals away that final kill. But Gambit, nonetheless, they get that one a little bit more cleanly than usual. I think Hellraisers had a slight chance for just a second, but maybe holding from short, not the best spot. And like I say, Issa on the wide angle is a little bit, I wouldn't say questionable, because it's a sort of round where maybe he needs to take the initiative. It's just not very effective in the end.
Magnificent mustache there on Mo's character model.
Indeed. Still in Movember, of course. Donate if you haven't already.
Yeah, of course. But 7-6, Gambit, they have themselves in a decent position. 7 rounds on the T side, no matter what, wouldn't be bad. But they do want to try and bring that up a little bit further. If they could find 9, they'd be putting themselves in a pretty happy position. But for what seems like the first time in quite a while, we do actually manage to see Hellraisers find the opening pick. Woxic getting aggressive on short to try and change things up. We hadn't really seen him do that yet. And it does actually manage to catch Mirror off guard.
Again, though, I think Gambit have kind of found things out there. If they just play it slowly, someone somewhere on the Woxic side will kind of make a bit of a mistake. Obviously this time, or well, a bit of aggression they can try and exploit, but this time it works out for Hellraisers. As you can kind of see from what we just spotted of Woxic, maybe still a bit too aggressive, you know, and this is something they've been punished for in the past. So he does need to be careful holding this angle, in all honesty.
Yeah, it seems like for now, at least, no one's actually going to be coming in this direction. And, of course, also having Hobbit in the pit means that they can go ahead and actually kind of focus their defense a little bit more towards that B side of the map. They at least have 2 players in position to rotate quickly. But the problem is, for now at least, Dead Fox is going to be all alone on this bomb site. He's in a little bit of a sneaky corner here towards the fence, or at least what used to be a fence. And now Angel going to be making his way in to try and assist. Let's see if they're going to be able to lock this one down. A nice little crossfire in play. Dead Fox position being in the perhaps slightly more important one, is able to get himself a nice little double spray down, a little bit shaky on the second, and it does actually allow for the trade to be returned pretty quickly by Mo. So it is a 2-on-2, the bomb should be planted, and it's going to come into a pretty difficult retake here for Hellraisers, especially as they don't currently have a defuse kit in their possession. Not actually quite sure if one was dropped, perhaps for them to pick up.
Those are doing good work on that lurk as well. There you go, Woxic is going to find one. The AWP of Mo holding things down. Split on both sides. It comes down to 1 versus 1. Doja gets his knife out at the wrong time. Thought that he'd check the angle, and Hobbit is gifted an easy kill. Left in the 1-on-2 for Mo. Drops Hobbit, but not entirely sure of where Woxic is going to come from. The M4 creeping in, but beautifully found by Mo. 2 versus 1 secured. A little bit edgy there from Doja especially. It's a very Doja-esque play. But at least the information is there for Mo, and he uses it perfectly to secure an 8th round and a pretty solid lead for Gambit at this point.
Yeah, of course that means no matter what, they are going to be coming out with a lead after this first half. But the question is, can they manage to bring it up to 9? Not the greatest of buys for Hellraisers, but I suppose it's not terrible either. The auto snipers alongside the op going to be just spamming down mid, and Woxic, even after spotting them out on the first attempt, decides it was a good idea to actually try and reface. Definitely don't agree with that one. Him kind of going for those repeaks has been a little bit of a problem so far on the CT side. And Angel, with his aggression, isn't really going to fare much better as he's shut down immediately as well. So a 5-on-3, Gambit in a prime position here to go ahead and actually take themselves 9 rounds at the half time. Unless a bit of a miracle can actually be pulled off by these remaining 3 players.
Yeah, a bit of a change from the early game. Yet again, it seems to be momentum can sometimes be a bit of a downfall. You know, if you have too much, it's hard to keep that up consistently. And Gambit have certainly swung things back in their favor pretty solidly. We'll have to see. I think Woxic going to have a fair amount of impact on that T side of things. Hobbit only good for 1. Once again out in the open, bit of a one and done spot. Not so sure about that when, you know, they're so far down in terms of manpower, and Axel finds the head of Issa. I have to say, so far, although it's not maybe the highest caliber of opponent that they'll be facing here at this tournament, so kind of want to still hedge your bets. But Axel's been playing really well for this Gambit side. Had some pretty flashy rounds and consistently fragging. I think ended up on 16 there. So I'm quite impressed so far by the young gun of that Gambit side.
Yeah, sitting around with, I believe, around 107 ADR as well, so he's been pretty consistent to actually bringing the firepower to the lineup in this game so far. So, yeah, impressive. Only 16 years old, of course, coming in. I believe this is his first big event as well, and so far he is impressive. But still early days. 9-6 at halftime for Gambit. It's looking decent for them for sure. But as I said, Dust 2 sometimes can be considered a little bit of a T-sided map, and Hellraisers, I feel like the T-side is somewhere where they can definitely shine with the amount of firepower that they have across the lineup.
Hopefully she'll be getting back into the action then. Here we go. Pistol going to be coming into play, of course. A fair amount of weight on this one. A relatively interesting setup for the T-side, especially with the 2 P250s. Bondit getting aggressive, spots out a few players. Manages to escape, at least for now. Mir going to try his best to pick up a few. Only able to get 1, but at least drops the bomb. And that kind of throws Hellraisers for a loop, because they have to rethink things. Do they continue to go towards A, where they know that they were initially going, or are they going to move to a different bomb site? There's also now, I suppose, a P250 drop for them, which could be interesting. Throw that across to a few of the armored players, perhaps. But everything seems to have stagnated a little bit, Dean.
Yeah, they've slowed it down. With a 4-on-4, I guess they're not really in too much of a rush. It does tend to favor the T side, of course. The CT's kind of having to split that defense up a little bit. They should find an advantage in terms of numbers, no matter where Hellraisers take this. But let's see, because it is, for now, 50 seconds remaining on the clock. They're favoring a little bit over towards B, it seems, with 3 players now beginning to push in towards middle. Smoke going to be placed down, and there's going to be 2 players to try and actually deal with this. Doja alongside Axel to try and actually hold it down. So far, I was going to say not going very well, but Axel makes it count for 1. Deadfox going to be able to double down, though, and Woxic finding 1 in mid. Does manage to actually retain that man advantage for Hellraiser. So it's all on the Mo now, trying to come in towards this B bomb site. 2 players to find. And it's not going to be easy, but actually as he goes in pre-fire and he tags Issa down to only 9 health, 1 more bullet needs to be connected towards the body for him to finish that one off. And sadly wasn't able to do so. Being shut down by Deadfox on that P250 in the end, who actually comes in with 3 kills in that round for himself to go ahead and find a 7th onto the board for Hellraisers. So that was a crucial pistol round for them to pick up, really, so that they can go ahead and actually get themselves some control back early on. Don't allow for Gambit to actually begin to run away with it. And you can see this here from Deadfox, of course, those 2 opening kills being just very crucial. And also that one as well, of course. Dangerous for him to try and actually take the fight.
Yeah, to be fair, with a low HP teammate, I feel like Mo was actually given a fair number of opportunities to find the heads, but unfortunately not able to land the shots quick enough. So Hellraisers run away with the pistol. Looks like it's an A stack that has not worked out, but a hard eco from Gambit, looking to earn as much money as possible, or have as much money as possible into the first rifle round. Certainly will be an interesting one. You know, Hellraisers taking that pistol throws once again the lead into contention. So it could really go any way here in the second half.
Yeah, I think the hope here for Gambit is just not to feed the money over to Hellraisers, and you can see that Hobbit and Angel, both with Mac 10s, are looking to actually try and hunt this one down. $600 per kill is a nice little bonus. Nade to start things off and do some damage to make it a little bit easier for them as they push in through short. But already, one kill coming in. Angel being taken down. Eventually, it is being traded back, but so far only one kill to actually be found with that Mac 10. So it's not too bad. They aren't allowed to build up a lot of economy, but of course, this is where we are going to see the buy coming in now from Gambit. Able to get the op out as well onto Mo, although it is, of course, glass cannon, meaning he does have to be a little bit more cautious. The utility coming in, the nades, etc., they could be a little bit of a problem, but overall, it's a solid buy.
The early round, I think, is going to be quite crucial here, especially for that CT side. Oh, the flash is a little bit early, to be fair, from Angel, like the peek behind it. Mo could quite easily have found him there, but turns away preemptively, instinctively, perhaps, as he would do in most situations. Grouping up towards B, it looks like they are trying to perhaps go for a bit of a split of some kind. It's kind of difficult to tell, though. Hellraisers, once again, after a bit of early action, have just slowed things down a great deal, which seems to be the order of the day from both teams on their T sides, trying to give away as very little information as possible and keep as many players alive going into the final execute situation. Nice little flash comes in, but no one's pushed in at the tunnel. They're all going to back away quite easily to make sure they don't get taken down. But there's 3 players there to deal with. Mo on the AWP as well is going to be very, very difficult, but quickly taken down by Issa. It's all on to Mir to hold things down from double stack, and he's not able to really get much done. Bondic has picked up, I believe, the lurker on the other side of the map, but Hellraisers, they get the bomb plant, and now the retake of the B site with no utility at all for Gambit is nigh on impossible.
Yeah, not really worth going for, in my opinion. Definitely should be just saving this one here. Going to be getting themselves, I believe it's 2,900 coming into this next round, so they will have at least some money, but I don't know if the buy will really be allowed. If they wanted, I guess they could drop over a rifle from Doja and Bondic, but I feel like with it being such a close scoreline, they can probably afford to just get some pistols and Kevlar to back it up and really focus on that upcoming gun round. But good work by Hellraisers. As you said, it was 3 players on that B bomb site ready to try and hold it down. And they just found those first 2 kills instantly, putting just so much pressure on the shoulders of Mir. Although we found 1 kill, there was just too many players for him to try and actually deal with.
Yeah, I think a good use of flashbangs, in all honesty, because it was a little bit difficult with Mo being there. He needed to really pop off for Gambit, and unfortunately, he just gets flashed off the position and predictably, you know, moves away and is dealt with. So just the simple things yet again. Arguably, the fact that there were too many players sat there, that B site is fairly open in places and susceptible to flashbangs. So I think that's kind of what ended up happening. And now Hellraisers even things back up, built a little bit of cash on some of the players. But obviously, this is around one of the accumulator rounds, I suppose we call them. They'll be looking to earn as much money as they possibly can in this one. Get it as cleanly as possible. Bondic and Doja are going to have to take matters into their own hands if Gambit are ever going to have a hope in this one. I'm not feeling too confident for it with what they've...
You can't count the X-God out. Never. But it looks like he's been counted out. Never mind. Issa just comes in and just cleans up and he just says,
the timing
shut up,
on that is perfect.
Literally, as good as it possibly could have been. Bondic's still alive with his M4, but it's unlikely he's going to be allowed to really do anything. He's over on long, and as we can see, the bomb already just walking on the B. Woxic is going to be able to place that one down. And Hobbit, I think he is actually going to be dropped, so that's an upgrade to an AK for Bondic if he wants it. But the problem is now with his position known, if they want, Hellraisers can try and hunt them down. Ideally, I'd like to see them make sure that they actually do just survive with these 4 players, though, of course, as we said, they haven't really built up much money themselves. But it looks like they may be considering trying to actually drop this M4. Not quite sure how, but Angel took some nade damage. I think he got team naded.
Yeah, I think so. A little bit awkward, but yeah, they're all going to move in together. Nice little distraction play, but good reaction comes in from Bondic, to be fair. A classic of the Observer here today.
I feel like we need to dun 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 for each zoom.
They need to coordinate, but I'm not sure. That's probably a copyright sound effect, isn't it?
I don't know.
At this point.
Change the pitch slightly and we'll be alright.
Yeah, add like a bit extra at the start or the end, and then boom, you've cheated copyright.
10-9 though, Hellraisers. They find double digits, and it's Gambit with double ups. That's their attempt now to try and actually get themselves some rounds onto the board here on the CT side. And let's see if it's going to be allowed. It's Mir on the double up side, the double up as well. Surprisingly, Mo of course going to have one in play.
Listen, he's really liking that AWP, you know. Mo's obviously been the go-to AWPer for this side for a while, but Mir trying to prove himself. Might have an opportunity, but misses the shot. It's with a nade out, panicking slightly on the CT side of things, and that does allow a good amount of room. Woxic playing the contact style. They're so very close here. Axel to hold it down. Does manage to find the first onto Deadfox and actually back away. Changes his angle slightly, but Angel is up above, completely unexpected. Issa helps out Hobbit to take down Bondic. And now into a 4-on-2. It's just those two AWPs that remain. They've not been given a chance to do anything at all. So it will be another round going the way of Hellraisers. This T side is looking hella clean from them so far, and dropping Mir there is not really great for Gambit. They would have very much liked to keep a hold, if I can get my words out, of the double AWPs, but maybe one is all they're going to be able to get away with. Hobbit to be dropped. Another foul by Mo, to be fair. Looking fairly nasty. They don't want to hunt him too hard. Their money's not perfect on the Hellraiser side. Deadfox definitely going to need dropping. Woxic as well doesn't have a great deal. Mo's actually doing a lot of damage here. And yeah, Woxic going to decide against going for it. So, bit of stat padding at the end of the day for Mo, but like I say, a tiny bit of damage done to the economy keeps it modest, and certainly makes things doable if they're able to win a couple rounds on the Gambit side.
Yeah, they've still got the full loss bonus rolling, at least over on the Gambit side, but it's becoming a little bit of a problem now. Only Mo survives with the up. They're not really going to be able to buy into this next round, and sadly, of course, he's not able to throw that second up on his back to carry it over. Would have been nice if he could, but it's not a mechanic that's possible in the game. And I agree with this. Gambit going to be calling in a tactical pause. It's beginning to look a little bit awkward now, as Hellraisers are actually leading 11-9, been able to pick themselves up 5 rounds in a row since they swapped over to this T side. And doing so pretty convincingly. Hobbit is beginning to get himself into the game now. Of course, at one point he was, I believe it was 0-1-7. He had a very poor start, but he's beginning to get himself some confidence rolling now.
Not looking too bad, to be fair. A little bit more comfortable, perhaps, on the opposite side of things. Tactical pause seemingly going to end, and maybe what Gambit have talked over is going to be useful. We'll soon find out. I think this is certainly something that I appreciate. Again, we mentioned it earlier. A lot of teams back in the day, I think not so much recently, but back in the day didn't really recognize how to use timeouts properly, and use them more liberally than anything. Nice early pickup from Mo. The fast cat coming in, of course, that must have been the overall plan, and perhaps it's all that's going to be required, as they've gotten a very, very early advantage and no damage taken back on the side of Mo. So yeah, Hellraisers have not had a great chance to even things back up here. Gambit in firm control of this round.
Yeah, with that nice little man advantage, it's looking pretty good for them, but there is still a lot of utility for Hellraisers to work with. Some nice placed flashes, etc. could really give them a chance to try and open their way back into the round. And if we actually see Hellraisers pushing towards mid, Doji could be in for a lot of trouble. For now, though, they are just going to continue to hold, I guess, perhaps expecting some aggression to come out. Of course, Gambit don't need to go for any aggression with the man advantage already being in their favor, but I guess with the lack of utility, it is something they could have possibly been considering. But for now, going to be holding back on the bomb sites. 50 seconds remaining for Hellraisers to go ahead and make a decision about where they want to try and bring this. And as they do group up on short with a couple of players, it was looking maybe like A was going to be their target, but now beginning to make their way back towards the tunnels and out on mid. And Doji instantly going to be eliminated. It's a nice little opening kill to be found. And although Angel had managed to creep his way into the CT spawn, he will end up being shut down by that up. So it is a 3-on-4 now. Mir ready on this B-bomb site to try and hold it down, but the flash is perfect. Hobbit just allowed to go ahead and jump in, even though he's coming through the choke point. Not a single bullet actually able to connect onto him.
Yeah, unfortunately for Mir, he wasn't actually trained on the angle properly. A little bit awkward. He's out in the open. He kind of has to spray, otherwise he's going to die regardless. Axel is on the quick flank here, ahead of the Molotov, but gets taken down by Deadfox. That was kind of the major play for Gambit, yeah, and with him going down, they're just going to run away and try and save. Mo is seemingly wanting a frag here, though, by the looks of things. I'm not so sure on this one. Just run and save. Gets the flick onto Woxic, though. Absolutely nails him to the wall. It's going to be another round going the way of Hellraisers as Gambit, yet again, seemingly cannot get ahead of Hellraisers here. Do not know what their deal is. Cannot figure them out. It's been a straight 6 rounds in a row from Hellraisers on this T side, and this one was one where they started off with a bit of a disadvantage. So seemingly immortal, unassailable at this point, Dean.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the buy coming in with the 2 players actually being able to survive. Of course, still having that full loss bonus of $3,400. You can see, of course, Mo here, although he did get himself that triple kill, it wasn't enough to get the round win on the board. Once you lose B, especially when you have an up, and even if it's equal in terms of the manpower, it's just so difficult to get that retake in. You really need a bit of an advantage moving in towards it. So let's see, 12-9, Hellraisers, 6 rounds now in a row they've been able to pick up for themselves, beginning to look a lot more confident and comfortable here on Dust 2. And Mo again looking to try and get aggressive to see if he can find those openings. With a flick over, sadly not connecting the shot onto Issa. The nade comes in and does a small bit of damage at least, but nothing really too substantial.
He's actually been playing reasonably well for the side. He's on 18 frags right now. Again, it seems he and Axel, who's actually dropped off a fair amount on the CT side, I have to say, are doing most of the work. Nice little flash in towards long, though. There's been a 1-for-1 trade over there so far. Angel going to get Molotov out. Mo missing the shot. Double scoped. Can be hard to hit the flicks. Into a 4-on-3 in favor of this T side. And Bondic, he tries to recover something back, but Angel is ready for it. The flash doesn't blind him up at all. He's holding close to the smoke. Something that we've definitely seen creep into the meta within the past sort of 6 to 8 months is holding close to smoke so that flashes can't blind you. You know, the counter to the flashes coming into the meta, I suppose, you know, flashing through smoke. But a 4-on-2, Gambit going to be saving yet again, and this is a situation that just seems all too familiar for the boys on the CT side, unfortunately. Hellraisers just absolutely tearing it on this T side, almost unstoppable, you know, another decisive win.
Yeah, the problem is here on the CT side, Gambit, they need to have a control of either short or long. They need one of them. They can't give them both up. And of course, having lost that opening kill immediately towards long, Bondic then completely surrounded, had to try and make the play. And sadly, he just walked through the smoke into his death. In the end, they're sadly, the weapon being dropped out of the hands. I'm not quite sure who it was actually dropping at the end. Missed that while I was talking, of course, because I always distract myself, Scriv. But yeah, this is really beginning to run away from Gambit now. It's been 7 rounds in a row for Hellraisers. They're just looking so dominant here since they've swapped to the T side, and it really just seems like the firepower now is really beginning to shine through. They have all their players stepping it up. As we said, Hobbit started off with a little bit of a poor performance, but even now he's trying kind of getting into his own.
Certainly looks that way. A little bit of a different side over on the T side of things, just crazy aggressive, and it's kind of difficult. I think a map like Dust 2, you can get away with a bit more of a puggy play style. Sometimes it's easy to argue that the T side needs a lot more in-game leading and coordination, but then, like you say, getting control of the map is quite difficult for a team where maybe they've just not really planned for that kind of thing. Their deeper strategy, their deeper cohesion, what I like to call the unspoken coordination, doesn't really seem to be there for Gambit at this point with so many new players and the stand-in and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Hellraisers, they've only replaced one guy. The core of the lineup seems relatively happy and safe here. Woxic's performing in the way that we would expect. Everybody else helping him out a fair amount. Hobbit was a bit of dead weight in the first half, but has now picked it up, so that's allowed the team to just springboard into such a strong lead, such a strong second half.
Solid nade there, though. It's Issa being taken down really low, and Angel with a bit of damage coming in his way as well. But it looks like Hellraiser is actually just going to instantly try and commit towards this A-bomb site. Bondic in the CT spawn for them to try and deal with, as well as Mo over on long, and actually another player in towards the pit as well. But Dead Fox is able to find that first opening kill now. That should allow for the bomb to actually be planted. Of course, they still have that short control in their favor. And now it's going to be, once again, a difficult retake for Gambit. They don't have a defuse kit in play. They have very little utility, just a single flash in the hands of Axel. And if they can't manage to find some openings within the next couple of seconds, this retake is going to be looking almost impossible.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to go for it. Unfortunately, nothing coming their way. It's a pretty interesting kind of situation. You know, all 8 players after the initial trade still alive. As soon as I speak, though, Hobbit will, of course, find the player in a pit. Walks sick with a quick little headshot onto Bondic. Looking for more as well. Pretty hungry for it at this point in time. Mir is lucky to get away with his life there, but a 14th round regardless for Hellraisers. I think it was a difficult retake, and honestly a bit of a difficult post plan as well. There was no utility across the board, no kits or anything. So it's a really weird one to decide what to do. Gambit clearly having their confidence knocked a fair amount. Just going to back away, go for the pause. In theory, play it safe, but maybe the risk is worth the possible reward at this point, because things are just... Gambit just looking completely lost on the CT side of Dust 2 right now. It's like an entirely different team to the first half, even.
Yeah, definitely worth noting that Mir is really struggling in this game. Currently sitting at 8-15, I believe, and he's been kind of hailed as one of those up-and-coming stars. Of course, when he was back on Vegas Squadron, he was almost unstoppable at points. You could see he definitely had that individual skill. I believe he stayed with Vegas Squadron for a really long time just because he enjoyed playing with his friends. But of course, eventually hopping over to the Gambit lineup, they didn't really manage to find much success. They've gone through all these changes now, and it's not really looking too much better for them, especially with the stand-in. Bondic, of course, is a very solid player, but as was said, they didn't have a chance to really get any preparation in. Dust 2 really was the perfect map for them without the preparation, but once they've swapped over to the CT side, I guess that's where they've really begun to struggle. Already Mir, of course, being taken out of the server. It's going to be a 5-on-4. Mo has a chance here to maybe try and catch a player off guard, but with the CZ at long range, he didn't go for it immediately. Makes his way onto mid, where he's able to find himself one. And Bondic from behind going to come in and ensure that trades are going to be found as well. So the bomb actually dropped now under the control of Gambit, giving them at least what seems like the best chance they've had so far on the CT side to get around.
That straggler, of course, a little bit of an issue, but they seem to be recovering it back fairly well. They flash Bondic off the angle, flash to follow. Just above the smoke is so awkward to deal with. I feel like this round could have really gone heavily in favor of Gambit, but unfortunately Mo got a bit greedy for the AWP. I don't know if anyone really caught that. He'd already picked up an M4. Nonetheless, moving in towards B, they manage to drop Bondic on that retrieved weapon. All going to be onto Doja. 1 versus 2. Again, no utility across the board, no kits. He's just going to go for it. The Hail Mary play. Why not? It is the ex-god himself moving in towards this B site. Nice little crossfire has been set up, but Dead Fox on low HP. They spot him out. He has to find the first, and he can't. Hobbit peeks out wide and takes down his former teammate quite easily. Secures match point for his new team. 6 rounds in a row. I mean, they've already got 9, so 1 more for Hellraisers is not too much to ask in a row, I don't think. No, they've already got 8. Maths is hard. Right, they came from 6.
I think they've gotten 9. They were on 6, yeah.
No, yeah.
Bringing it up to 15.
MB.
10 in a row is what they needed from that point, and it's looking doable. 1 more round. All they need to go ahead and finish this one off over on the Hellraisers side. And let's see, Gambit. 6 in a row is not impossible by any means here on the CT side for them to try and pull it back into overtime. It's just how they've been performing so far. It's not a very likely scenario. But let's see, because Mo, we said he's been kind of a little bit of a shining hope, I suppose, over on that Gambit side, and he does have the op again in his hands. He's looking to try and get aggressive on short, and I was gonna say is in a great position to find this opening kill on Angel, but ends up just having his head completely ripped off, and Bondic is gonna go ahead and actually suffer a similar fate. That just completely opens up the A bomb site now. Doja and Mir are actually still in position, but if they want, Hellraisers can actually just slow this down. They're not really in too much of a rush.
The in-game leader taking the charge, it would seem. Pretty low HP left on him, but still doable. Flash to come in, blinds out Mir. Easy pickup for Angel as he's looking to get more. Unfortunately, will eventually get taken down. Doja as well, in with 2, but the only one remaining, and he cannot get it done. A flawless T half from Hellraisers. Certainly, after that first half was not what we were expecting. This, we kind of felt, was going to be one of the closer games of the day, but Hellraisers just ripping that CT side of Gambits apart, in all honesty. Really, really surprising stuff, but they fall so flat.
So finally we have a game that actually goes as I think most people actually predicted. 16-9 in the end. It's by far the most one-sided game, and even then it wasn't really one-sided up until that second half when it really became just Hellraisers kind of just steamrolling them completely. It was quite clearly just once they swapped over to that T side, the firepower was just too much for Gambit to actually be able to handle.
That's what it seemed like, right? There wasn't a great deal of deeper strategy or anything like that. We saw a lot of the time. There were a few rounds where they would fall to kind of an early aggressive AWP pick from Mo or something along those lines, and then they were quite easily able to just recover it back because there was weak links in that Gambit side, or there was someone that would go for an overpeak, or maybe in a one and done spot and didn't perform as heavily as they needed to in a spot like that. So yeah, it's kind of dangerous for Gambit playing that so consistently. They took what, like 1 or 2 pauses, but obviously what they talked about didn't really work out. I think they had a double upset of like once, and it just fell flat again, and then moved away from it. It's like kind of very indecisive from them.
Yeah, so in the end, it was a pretty convincing win from Hellraisers up against Gambit, and we do of course have an interview coming up. It's going to be Angel joined by Drowlin on the stage.
Another day, another September for Hellraisers as they keep Gambit contained and secure the victory on Dust 2. Now, Angel, first and foremost, congratulations. You put up an insane T-side. Could you walk us through that game?
Like nothing special, to be honest. We just tried to push them all over the map, and like they couldn't handle the pressure. At least it looks like this.
Right, now this is your first LAN event alongside Hobbit. How is the team feeling? How is the chemistry on the team?
Oh, this first game should be shaky, and it was shaky, yeah, because like we could finish our city half much more confidence than we did. And like I'm really glad that this first game ends, you know, like there is no more hype about it. We can just like keep calm and work.
Now later today you will be facing Tai Lu in a best of 3 in the winners match. First impressions of that game, how do you feel moving into that one?
We'll see, to be honest. Like we didn't prepare like 100% for this tournament because we changed a lot when Hobbit joined us. And I hope to see a lot of mistakes from us, but at the same time, I hope to see like a lot of good plays against Tylo. It's like, don't care who we play, we're just gonna concentrate on our game.
It's all routine. Well, congratulations once again. Hellraisers will be moving forward to face Tylo, and we'll be moving forward to the analyst desk to see what our experts make of this match.
Thank you, Drowlon. An interesting state of affairs. At least it went as we expected this time around. Let's start, rather than looking at the game, Axel, the guy we wanted to look at. Okay. He did play well. He held his own. It's promising, right? This is what we wanted from him. This is what we expected. It's still just the usual players in Gambit, though.
Fantastic debut,
Not quite
right?
there. Yeah, and this is what we wanted from him.
Like, even though they lost in such a, I guess, blowout fashion, that first half was relatively, well, they won the half, right? But I think he, you know, showed that he is one of these players who, to jump on land and play a game like that against Hellraisers, that's fantastic at 16 years of age. It keeps blowing me away that these kids are doing this young, right? I know that the scheme of things has definitely changed, but there's positive signs. And the other one that we talked about was Hobbit and how he was going to slot in. He didn't need to do a lot. He didn't need to do a lot, right? He had a very average first half. I think, you know, he had, what was it, 2 kills or something, you know, quite lackluster. But
yeah, he was down and out quite early on.
Yeah, he didn't need to do a lot realistically. When they switched on over, he obviously turned it on a little bit more, got a few more frags there, and Angel with a lovely mustache. So.
Deadfox stood out a lot as well. He was doing a lot of work. There was a couple of rounds where he was really pivotal. The likes of their Angel getting himself a couple of eco frags.
The observer caught that nade landing on. I was like, that's a nade. This round here. Yes, there's 2 rounds. That's one of them that crippled, you know, and put a lot of pressure on the Hellraisers economy. That round, it was a 2v4 with Bondik and Axel. Bondik had the lion's share of kills in that situation. And then there was a later one in the piece where they were on eco, and Axel got the opening kill with the Glock, able to pick up an M4, find a following kill. Those were the 2, I guess, key rounds for me in the first half that put a lot of pressure on the economy of the Hellraisers side. They really kept them so they couldn't get the AWPs going. Because you saw in the first half, Voxic with the AWP, that guy had like 17 kills. He was having he was like the best showing right there for Hellraisers in the first half. But when we flip on over, a lot of people will argue, oh, maybe it should be easier for a team with a standard on the CT side because you just need to stand and deliver.
Yeah, not so much.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at it, right? The first way is if they rush at you, then means everybody just gets to play heads-up Counter-Strike, which is great. That means, you know, you have your basic grenade usage at the start of the round. What you do against a team with a stand-in is you play it slow and you play the mid-rounds because rotations is something which takes a very long time to build. That's one of the last things that you really work on as a team. Whereas you maybe work on your holds, you maybe work on your strats. Those are the first things you do. Rotations on the CT side is one of the later things, and that comes with chemistry and time. So that's where Hellraisers really excelled in picking apart Gambit.
Sure, and you saw that actually come into fruition a couple of times. Hellraisers were like even losing the man advantage, and that's when a lot of teams maybe look to get that aggressive refrag, but they were comfortable just sitting down, just playing passive. One of the rounds in particular, they just sat in mid. I think for like 1 minute, they just stayed in mid and waited. Eventually, they went out. They found Doja up close mid, smoked it off, made it up to B, and it was a 3 versus 1. And that was actually, there was a really nice flashbang that was caught. I think it was Mao?
It was in Mia. He was sitting in the back of sight, and the flash came in. Hobbit was able to drop through window and make that kill. That just shows good teamwork.
Yeah. That was a Dead Fox flash, I think.
This is an interesting thing as well, because this is the first time Hobbit's going to have to play in a team communicating in English.
Yeah.
So there is a transition there. I think that definitely has to be noted. But right now, off one game of sample size on LAN, you wouldn't sit here and say, well, Hobbit is clearly better than Bondic. Like, so we need a lot more games to see how this adjusts. And like you said, James, it went as we expected for once. You know, it wasn't a close affair. This is how it should have played out, and that's good signs from Hellraisers coming into this one, because I think you would look at them within the top 4. You would definitely say that they should be like NRG, Liquid. Obviously, we would have thought Big and Hellraisers. That would have been the top 4 for this tournament. Now, obviously, Big's not going to be in that. They can still make it, but they have to do it the harder way.
Yeah. So now we get into an interesting point of view as well, where we get to see Hellraisers go up against Tyloo in that side of things. And I think that, at least in a game when it comes up with that, we're going to need to see a little bit more from Hobbit than what we did this round. Because I think, yes, fair enough, it's English, you're adjusting to it. It's not something he's had to do before, but we need him to be that Mr. Consistent again.
Agree.
And I don't so much need to see him like frag crazily ahead of what Bondic used to do, but he has to play his role to a T.
Sure. It's curious to see what that role will be. Like, I think it should be the 3rd star. But whether or not that comes into fruition, like, only time will tell. We'll only get to see. As long as they don't take roles and positions away from Voxic and Issa, because that's how they've won in the past, right? By having those 2 guys popping off.
That'd be, if they did that, that'd be scary. We know Angel's smart, so that shouldn't be something we have to worry about, right? That would be destruction of the Hellraisers lineup. But Gambit, right? We can't expect too much from all their situations they've got to deal with. It's not a nice point for them to be in. But we've seen the positives. We get to see the young gun. We get to see some actual ability being shown here. And I think, at least going forward, okay, Bondic, he is the superstar sub, because he still was able to at least perform and do all right. That clutch moment like you guys brought up there, he's always in a position where it's like, oh, okay, I'll just play my role, and I'll fit in for a team wherever you want me to play.
That's it. That's why he's like the super sub of that team. And I was really looking forward to seeing him popping off, and he did quite a good job overall, but it's just not enough really for them, I suppose.
I guess though that one round, right, shows the difference between the CT and T side, because like once you're up against it, it's individual decision making. Sure, he had to play in a 2v4 situation, but basic communication and then playing off of each other is a lot easier than having to rotate as part of like a massive unit, especially when you get strung out so much. Like Hellraisers were stringing them out, and then when they were making a frag, they were very quick to react, very decisive. And from there, I think that's what got them the rounds in the late round, in the late stages.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things as well. Coming into it, I thought Gambit could have a decent T side. They've got that individual skill, and a map like this too could let it shine through. But like you said, that CT side, they're just being picked apart. You know, it does show that they're a fresh lineup anyways. Plus, they've got that stand-in in play. It's not. I mean, just with the stand-in alone, I mean, sure, Bondic is a solid individual player, but on the CT side, unless they're pushing into you correctly. I think to an extent, I suppose it was kind of gambling on Hellraisers not being able to play it so smart, to play it so patiently, and to really manipulate the weaknesses that came along with this new formed Gambit lineup.
Well, guys, we're going to go to a quick break before our next game, and it's going to be interesting to have a look at this one, because we finally get to see Team Liquid, and they're going to be going up against Virtus Pro. The question is, who will come out on top, and is it as clear-cut as what you might think?